War came out of nowhere. No warning, no reason. 3 years of war, with no end in sight. Ukraine has suffered under the bombs and missiles of a far more powerful country. Ukraine was expected to fall in just a few days, but it didn't work out that way. Ordinary citizens left their homes, took up a rifle, and went off to fight. They surprised the world. The Russian invasion was stopped and then pushed back. These citizen soldiers inflicted almost 1 million casualties on the Russians. But dictators are casual about the lives of their people, so Vladimir Putin keeps sending more. Jonathan Brooke is an American war photographer who has embedded with Ukrainian search and rescue workers. He has seen the worst of this war against civilians.
They're notoriously inaccurate and unpredictable, so like Russian roulette, they choose their own targets by chance. This is where the rocket attack happened last night, killing 10 people. It's just an apartment building. Bedrooms. Ukrainians know that if they don't completely defeat Russia, that they'll have to do it in a few years from now. The soldiers who are on the front lines, they say, I'm fighting this war so my children don't have to. This is the hole where the missile hit, destroying this entire complex of emergency response equipment, vehicles.
The attack on civilian areas have been so savage and overwhelming that it has created a massive refugee crisis. Over 14 million Ukrainians have been forced out of their homes. That's a third of Ukraine's total population. In the early months of the war, Tom Daglish volunteered to pick up refugees at the San Ysidro border crossing and drive them to a shelter or the airport so they could get to their destination in the US.
There was this one family I'll never forget. There was a mom and 2 daughters. They'd been living in the city of Kharkiv, which was horribly bombed during the war. And they'd been living for the last month in the basement of their apartment building, using it as a bomb shelter. They'd only come out at night to go try to find clean water and some food. And when they finally got their permission to come to the US, their dad took them to the train station, put them on a train to Poland, but he didn't get on with them. He kissed them all goodbye, watched the train go, and then turned around and went off to fight the war. Now, back in the bomb shelter, back in the basement, was their grandmother who'd been living with them all that time. And Grandma refused to leave. She wasn't going anywhere. When she was asked why, she said, I've lived here all my life. Hitler couldn't bomb me out of here. Stalin couldn't starve me out. And I'll be damned if that little worm Putin's going to make me leave. And they laughed when they were telling me this. They laughed. And I thought, how incredible. These people are thousands of miles from home, sitting in the back of my car with little suitcases holding everything they have left in the world. And they're laughing. I just think the Ukrainians are such a tough and resilient people. And unlike the Russians, they know exactly what they're fighting for.
So many Ukrainians have lost their homes and buried loved ones. They are facing the destruction of their country, and now their most important ally, the United States, may abandon them. If they lose, they will lose everything. And yet, they remain defiant. As Ukrainian President Zelensky said at the beginning of the war, if you attack us, you will not see our backs. You will see our faces. For 3 years, they have turned their faces to the invader and seen the Russians turn their backs. Despite all the cruelty Russia could rain down on them, they remain unbroken. They have gathered around an old folk song that has become their anthem in this war. It tells the world, Ukraine will live, and Ukrainians will be free. Похилилася, чогось
зажурилася, а ми тую червону калину піднімемо, а ми нашу славну Україну, гей, гей, розвеселимо. Ой, у лузі червона калина похилилася, чогось наша славна Україна зажурилася, а ми тую червону калину піднімемо, а ми нашу славну Україну, гей, гей, розвеселимо.
No dictator, no invader can hold an imprisoned population by force of arms forever. There is no greater power in the universe than the need for freedom. Against that power, governments and tyrants and armies cannot stand. Though it take 1,000 years,